How much is that doggy in the window? Come on, you know the song. The one about the cute puppy in the store, tugging on your heartstrings, wanting to come home with you so bad. Puppy breath and all. This story happens over and over again throughout the world, only to end tragically because the puppy came from a puppy mill where there was no forethought about the future health. Genetic issues that go unchecked by backyard breeders can lead to early blindness, deafness, hip issues, and can lead to premature death and undue suffering. This is not isolated to the dog world. Horses, chickens, and even aquatic animals can suffer the same fate when a single desired trait is bred with no regard of the overall health of the animal. Animals need to be bred by responsible breeders that check their stock genetically to make sure that they do not carry faulty genes. This will prevent unnecessary suffering to the animals. Domesticated animals have been friends with humans since the dawn of time. Choosing the hardiest and strongest of the stock and breeding them has always been the best practice. In the 1950s, science began to explore how to scientifically choose the parents, and not only for the desired look, but for the desired genes, and that did not pre-diagnose them with early death. Selective breeding is the practice of artificially pairing two animals to obtain the desired outcome. In an article I read, called Animal Welfare, Does Breeding a Bulldog Harm It? I learned that years and generations of selective breeding have created designer breeds such as bulldogs. If you have two bulldog parents, each one has two copies of their genes. When two bulldogs have a litter of puppies, they pass one set of genes from each pair. The puppies will have half of their genes from their mom and half of their genes from their dad. In situations like the bulldog, where there is limited stock, inbreeding can happen. If the mom and the dad are related in any way, the couple can pass on the identical versions of the same genes. If this gene causes illnesses that may not show up in the parent, it might show up in the baby. In an article titled Breeding Animals for Quality Products, Not Only Genetics by Palmer, says that problems affecting bulldogs are breathing issues, skin rashes, and the mother dog not being able to pass puppies through the birth canal because of their large head size. When inbreeding happens in a population, it can lead to inbreeding depression. Inbreeding depression is a situation where inbred individuals are unfit for survival. They're less fertile, weaker, and may have abnormalities such as webbed feet and fingers or extra nipples. When breeding animals, it is important for the breeder to frequently introduce outcross to the population. Outcrosses are non-related stock that carries different and non-related genes to the current breeding stock. This will increase the health and well-being of the animals involved and lead to less concentration of undesirable genes. When it comes to desirable traits, homozygosity can increase the chances, and desired traits will forever be bred into a population of animals. The example of this would be a horse that can only produce color. The American Paint Association, in the APHA, this means large white patches on horses. Or in the Appaloosa Club, the APHC, it would be spots on the back of the horse. For a horse to be registered with an APHA, it has to have white spots or blue eyes or other APHA traits to be registered within the association. This means thousands of dollars and almost a year's worth of time invested in an unborn foal, knowing that studying genetic makeup of your stock can save time and money for breeders who operate in a thin margin and unwanted animals that may not be useful without papers. Some breeders have experienced this because they are looking for APHAs with minimal white. When breeders play the game, they run the risk of breeding non-colored or undesirable foals. These horses can only be registered with the APHA after genetic testing by the UC Davis and have to have one of the following paint patterns: Tobiano, Overno, Sabiano, Splash White, or Dominant White. I learned this from an article called Take a Shot of the Regular Registry from the new APHA registration. Although they could be registered solid APHA, horses that do not show the desired look can end up being sold for much less money than they are worth because of their lack of white coloring. On the flip side, selective breeding can also be a good thing and have many benefits. When done responsibly, it can increase the yield of meat for cows, pigs, chickens, and other domesticated farm animals that are used for food. In a journal called Reproduction, Fertility, and Development, there was an article written in 2016 called Inbreeding Animals for Quality Products, Not Only Genetics, and others said that it's true that includes aquatic species that are used for food as well. It can produce animals that require less food and animals that mature quicker. This leads to reduced resources being used to get the animal onto market. Agricultural scientists have made great strides to ensure that the animals are producing will be healthy. They can breed not only for meat production but also behavior. In Poultry Science article called Survival of the Laying Hens, an author talks about how they breed hens that would not cannibalize on each other because the country they were born prohibited beak trimming. If beak trimming was allowed, this would not be an issue because the trimmed beak causes significantly less damage to the coop mates, making it a non-issue. Scientists were able to select a behavior, non-pecking coop mates, the trait, and breed for it. This is a small example, but larger implications of selective breeding may be able to help curb world hunger and combat climate change. Fish can also be farmed and selectively bred to increase in food stores. The science of aquaculture can help provide the sources of protein to the hungry that is also dense in nutrition. The fatty acids and the micronutrients that are available in fish make it perfect specimen for selective breeding. This science is an issue of farmed raised fish hits close to home for me. My grandfather is a commercial fisherman in Alaska. He fishes for Alaskan pollock, which is a wild-caught fish. Pollock fisheries are one of the most sustainable fisheries in the world because of their low bycatch rate and the highly regulated quota. Alaskan fishermen are against farm salmon, tilapia, and other fish, probably because it is a direct competition with their industry. Some claim that genetically modified fish may not be as healthy for humans' consumptions and bad for the environment. Tilapia has a respawn cycle of every 2 months, so by the time it takes to breed for desired traits is quick. In other countries, this may not have the same regulations about raising these fish and why they're kept in tight quarters with their meat-eating tendencies may lead to cannibalism and eating feces. This may have more to do with their questionable quality rather than the genes that they carry with them. Genetic issues can especially be common in monobreeds. Monobreed is another term for purebred. In most cases, purebred animals somewhere along the line have had offspring with a relative. The main danger of this not having genetic diversity can lead to things like stunted growth, increased susceptibility to disease, and some examples of the monobreed problems are the HYPP in American quarter horses, owls in the American paint horse, and hip dysplasia in larger breeds of dogs. The genetic condition all can be debilitating situations that only cost a lot of money to fix, but can also cause undue suffering to animals that could be prevented through careful breeding practices. Purebred animals are more susceptible to disease. The shallow gene pool will lead to some extent of inbreeding that will increase the expression of genetic disorders. These are caused by recessive mutations. Responsible breeders need to have their stock genetically tested before they're breeding with new animals. The American Kennel Club, the AKC, has a list of genetic tests that need to be ran before the animal is eligible to be considered into breeding stock, allowing for the offspring to be registered by the association. The American Kennel Club website lets breeders know what the certain tests that need to be conducted according to the acclimate of the breed is known for. For example, the website in the English Springer Spaniel, they would have to have an hip evaluation, an elbow evaluation, and make sure that these simple tests can ensure that any puppies will be spared the anguish that can cause these genetic disorders. Our family recently got an English Springer Spaniel, and the breeder provided us with the results from the genetic test as well as the ACT papers that document testing. There were also color breeds of horses that require genetic testing before the stallion can be considered for registration with any association. The long history of breeding for looks has led horses that has been born sick. The example of owls in the American paint horse foals are born with no coloring, often blind and deaf. They only survive a couple of hours outside the mother because, along with the all-white coloring in their intestines, they do not function properly, which leads to death. The leopard coat pattern is a highly sought after in the is highly sought after in the Appaloosa horse. The pattern can also be picked by these horses. They can be led to moon blindness. If a horse cannot see well, their quality of life and usefulness significantly reduces. This may lead horses to be sent to the slaughterhouses. In 2006, horse slaughter was outlawed in the United States. Although some animal lovers say that this is a huge win for horses and horse lovers, I propose that this has caused more suffering to animals. Like dogs, cats, and other animals in the shelter, there are more animals than there are good homes. When horse slaughter was legal, horse owners who no longer could care for their horse could take them to the slaughterhouse and have them humanely euthanized and used for animal food. Because of the ban, it is more difficult to euthanize humanely, and horses must get on a truck, travel for days, and then be sent to a slaughter in Canada or Mexico. Long, crowded trips can cause unnecessary suffering to already sick or emancipated animals. Also, horse owners that are low on funds may allow sick animals to starve in the field. They also often stop offering them minimum care requirements rather than doing the humane thing and having them euthanized, which can cost up to $500. And then the properly disposed of, which is an additional fee. Luckily, most dogs and cats are laid to rest in the veterinary office. Overcrowding and backyard breeding is the cause of the tragedy. Continue the education and animal spay and neuter programs are important to the communities. Animal breeders need to carefully vet their stock before proceeding with pairing two animals. Not doing so can cause horrible harm to the future pets and livestock. Not only can animals be born with abnormalities, they can also be unwanted. Spaying and neutering family pets and leaving breeding to the experts is the best path for high-quality animals that both feed us and act as our faithful companions. Thank you for listening.